This movie exists inside a kind of a almost Hitchcockian bubble. I mean, it's sort of its own world, and it carries the audience back into the past, and then shocks them with the violence and tension of the present, surprises them by what's revealed to have existed virtually under their noses, you know, throughout their lifetimes. And so much of that gets expressed visually by the sets. Well, I'd worked with Alan Cameron on a couple other films, and he's done a wide range of movies. And he's a true artist, and he's incredibly thorough, and he just immersed himself in this job.
Here's a fun fact. We had over 140 sets in the movie. Normal movie, you've got, I don't know, for us, 50 maybe 50. We had around 142, 143 settings between locations and sets. So for Alan Cameron, that was just a staggering amount of work. The amount of research and the accuracy that he put into this was just was amazing.
What time?
Ron rang me and said he would like me to design it. So I read the book, and then I flew to Toronto to meet him for a day and just to renew acquaintances, really. And then he gave me the script at that time. So I read the script on the plane back and enjoyed the script a lot. And from a design point of view, it's quite a tricky job because obviously everyone knows where it's set in the Louvre and Paris and Scotland, Roslyn and all the other places, which are real locations. So from a design point of view, quite funny really, because when I first met Ron, I thought it was going to be a location picture because we had permission to shoot in various places. And now it's turned out that we're actually on 13 different stages with lots of scenery, because eventually we found out it was easier to build parts of the Louvre. We obviously shot in the Louvre, but for corpses on the floor and blood on the floor and messages written on parquet and on the Mona Lisa frame, it was much better to build a set. So that's what we eventually did. Well, the Grand Gallery is real size, built to scale. All the columns are the same diameter, the same height, the dados, the floor patterns, everything is to scale. Except we built about a fifth of it. One complete bay where the main paintings, the Leonardos hang, and the paintings in the Caravaggio in the script. And the rest of it is going to be a CG model, which will give the full length of it. So I think the length of the real gallery is about 1,500 feet, and we've got a stage which is just about 400 foot long. But as all the action takes place in one main bay where it joins the Salon de Carré, that works pretty well from an action point of view. So the actual task of designing the film gradually got more complex. As Ron's ideas evolved and Akiva's ideas evolved, my job got more interesting, especially with the flashbacks, because we flash back to the Templars, we flash back to attacks on Jerusalem. So from a design point of view, that was really stimulating.
Welcome to Chateau Villette. You may pass.
We wanted to use the real chateau in the story, and we were lucky enough to get permission to shoot there. So again, as the other locations, we shot a substantial amount on the outside, shot the foyer on the inside and the staircase when we first meet Teabing coming down the stairs. Well, the real chateau, it's got beautiful carvings and mouldings and cornices, and the colours are very sort of that period. The only thing I thought about it, it wasn't quite Teabing's character. So when we move in, we actually took all the dressings out of the real chateau and put our own in, so it looked more Teabing. And then his library and his study we actually built on the stage, because a lot of action takes place there, and it's quite specific in the script and didn't exist as scripted in the real chateau. So that was an interesting set to build and dress from a set decorator's point of view, because there's a very specific amount of props in there, because that's his den really. That becomes much more his character. So we actually designed a lot of the props around Teabing's character.
Jesus goes on to tell Mary Magdalene that it's up to her to continue his church.
I think it was my idea that Teabing should access the paintings of Leonardo da Vinci, not through books, but through a large plasma screen which he has in his study. So to that extent, I contributed to that set because it's a major feature. And I did suggest a few books, and there are a few jokes of my own in there, but those with eyes to see.
Bishop Rosa has been kind to me. I could not miss this chance to pray inside the Saint-Sulpice.
We're building substantial parts of Saint-Sulpice on the stage at Shepperton. And again, it's going to be a combination of set pieces and computer-generated pieces and models. But we started on a storyboard. Ron got his storyboard artist and he broke the scene down frame by frame. And then we took that storyboard and translated that into a set model, drawings, and have built the set basically based on the storyboards. So we didn't have to build the whole of Saint-Sulpice. We could actually build the parts that were important for the story.
The Holy Grail neath ancient Roslyn waits.
I've been to Roslyn several times, and just talking to the people who know Roslyn, they say there's these large chambers underneath the chapels. So we've actually built the large chambers. The chambers are inaccessible in the real church. So we've actually built them on the stage to obviously make them accessible to our artists and things. And it's a very integral part of the story and the script. So we start in the real chapel, we use the exterior again, we go inside the real chapel, which is beautiful with all the carvings, and our heroes then descend into a lower room, which is reality, which is actually in the real one, and then they go through an opening into the set. And in my imagination, I built these chambers that are underneath the real church, obviously based on the architecture of the real church. And then we're shooting on one of the biggest stages at Shepperton, where I'm building part of the Roman Forum. And again, because it's a very short flashback, we don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds recreating Rome, so I'm building elements of it, and we're building the rest of it in the computer. So probably have about 150 in the construction team, which is painters who paint the graining and the backgrounds, and the carpenters who build the scenery, and plasterers who do the moulding. Then of course I've got my set decorating team who actually supply all the furniture and the carpets and the drapes and all the things that go into the set, and the books and all the really important action props. And then I've got a prop team of probably 20 people who actually dress the sets and strike the stuff and get all the hand props together. So although I like to work with a very small, what I call the art department, it actually, is several hundred people when you count them all up.